For Vlad TV, this is Bones Malone sitting down with the one and only Momolu S.K. Stewart from Northeast D.C. What's happening?
Man, it's a blessing to be here. You hear me? It's a blessing to be here. It's a phenomenal experience. You know, man, all power due to the Creator, man. All blessings. You hear me?
Tell us about your neighborhood and where you're from, brother.
So I'm from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., Northeast. My area, my location was called the Red Zone, where it's highly saturated with violence and drugs. My specific neighborhood, where I learned a lot of the indoctrinations that I learned, was from a neighborhood called AZ Base, 16th and F Street.
Was that a part of Langston Terrace?
Nah, so Langston Terrace was like the second home. One of my brothers, his mother winded up getting an apartment up there, and that was somewhere that I used to frequent a lot of times because, you know, in my youth I was homeless.
I see.
So I used to stay with him sometime.
Now, how old were you about that time?
Like 14, 15.
Mm-hmm. So what was growing up in the Red Zone like, and what age were you?
Growing up in the Red Zone, it was, you know, it's pretty traumatic. You know, from 6 years old to like 16, had to get used to seeing a lot of things that was abnormal, such as dead bodies, drugs, needles laying in the street, older women, Black women, you know, prostituting themselves for drugs, seeing, you know, people get beat down, people running in people's house, you know, taking things from them. You know, I witnessed a lot, saw a lot, you know, a lot of murders. You know, I think the first person I ever seen be murdered was a young guy. His name was Boosie. And I think I might have been like, well, outside of my family, the first guy that I seen get murdered was like by a gun was the guy named Boosie. And I think I was probably like 12, right? And you know, he got shot down. You know, and that was one of the things that, you know, kind of changed my perspective on, you know, the way that I probably would have to, you know, adapt to my environment.
I hate to ask, but the first thing that comes to my mind is like, did he do something to deserve that? You know how the hood is.
Yeah, so, you know, like growing up where I'm from, you know, people can justify murder with, you know, simple answers as it being the principle. I don't really know his situation, right? But I know now in my life that there's nothing that a person should be, you know, judged off of for the rest of their life. Like one mistake or one situation or, you know, some type of decision that a person make and you take their life, right? Even though that's the way that we've been brought up, right? I watched his aunt cry, trying to get through the yellow tape, right? I don't think that any woman should deserve to see her nephew. And I watched his mother, you know, run over there and, you know, try to rescue her son, right? So I don't think that there's anything that a person should be judged that way off, especially because he was only 16, you know, so, you know.
At the age of 5, in 1986, Describe your father for us.
Mm. So my father, he was a great man. Uh, he was a doctor, political science, theology, philosophy, and psychology. Uh, he was a very educated guy, disciplined guy. Uh, installed in me to work out, to stretch. Uh, used to make me read. Uh, every day, probably, he fed us the same meal. Uh, rice and greens. And my American side, the African American side of my family, they would joke about my dad, feeding us that, but we would call it greens, but it was really like cassava leaf, right? And he was an African nationalist as well. So a lot of times he would just be in the house, uh, outside of when he was working or teaching or whatever. He had that Bob Marley plant, and him and his buddies would be in there, and they'd be having some revolutionary dialect. They trying to change the world, right? So yeah, that was him.
What was the downside to his personality?
The downside, he had he drank a little bit, drank a little bit too much, and you know, and that would cause him to be in adverse situations with my mom.
Mm-hmm. How was he towards you during that mind state?
Oh, I love my dad to death. I mean, like at all times, I was his son, right? And he loved me. And I don't even recall maybe just one time where he had to discipline me. And that was because uh, when I was a baby, growing up as a kid, I used to suck my thumb. And he told me to stop. Think he might have said it twice. The third time when he came in the house, he grabbed me by my hand. I was crying. He went and got a red hot pepper. And he said, stick your tongue out. I stuck my tongue out, rubbed it on my tongue real good. Ah! You know what I mean? After that, I ain't never sucked my thumb no more. Yeah, so that's my man. Rest in peace to my pops. Yeah.
Describe your mom for us.
My mom's, she a sweetheart, the queen. And, back then, me and her got the same birthday. So her birthday and my birthday is the same. And we big fish, you know what I mean? We sharks. So like, she was the party type. Mom wanted to party. She wanted to go out to the clubs. You know what I mean? She had her little jerry curl. She used to shake that all over the place. And she was disciplinary, right? She ain't taking. She was more of the hands on when it came to me, So but at the same time she was nurturing, right? She was there. She fed me. I got that 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 emotional support from her, right? And at the same time, she liked to drink too, right? And then mom's was like, she was a big gangster back then, you know what I mean? So moms used to be a stripper, you know what I mean? Moms was, she might have sold some weed, moms was different. She was from, DC. My dad, he from Africa, you know what I'm saying? So, it was like, the opposites attract type
Different
thing.
cultures, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, what happened that night at Howard University?
So, uh, my mom's and my dad, their relationship was real toxic. It was always like a toxic situation with them, right? And they used to clash a lot. You know, my mom's, she ain't always uh accept what he done, and I guess she may have brought it up to him, and you know what I mean. Then he would lash out on her, and some of it is a lot of stories that I've gathered, and some of it is things that I've seen, right? that I've experienced within the household, with my family, right? And it was a real sad situation, man, the way that they would fight, right? And of course, me being the type of man that I am today, I don't agree with a man putting his hand on a woman for no reason, right? So I'm definitely distraught and, was saddened and distraught about what went on when my dad used to hit my mom's or whatever the case may be. You know, that has always hurt me as well as my sister. Uh, However, both of them was practicing infidelity, right? And, I guess the guy that, well, no, I don't guess. The guy that my mom's was dealing with, you know, got a little caught up on her too heavy. You know how dudes do.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying? It wasn't just no, sleep thing. He was, having sex with my mom's and, he watching that because at first, you know, my mom's was dealing with him he could so she could pay him to kill my dad, and I guess she changed her mind as some sort or whatever. And then, she went back on it. And that day, me and my sister, we was sleeping. We was in the bed and it was Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving night, man. And I was having a dream that my dad was being murdered. And when I woke up, my mom's like, she was just dead. She was right there crying. So, me and my sister, we started crying, but I already knew something had happened to my dad. So I was like, at some point I, was trying to get out of there or whatever, right? And, you know, my dad was like already like done, you know what I mean? And I don't remember what happened from there, but, you know, what I've been told is that my mom's may have took me back into the room until the police had came, right? And then once the police came, uh, you know, they extracted my mom's from the room. Me and my sister, we holding on to my mom's. And then they took us down to the precinct. And, I guess I must have looked like the weakest link. But, the police pulled me to the room and asked me did my mother have blood on her hand. And of course, I was like, nah, my mother ain't had no blood on her because I had never been a rat. So I was like, nah, my mother ain't had no blood on her hand. And then from there, you know, they threatened me, told me if I was lying, they was going to separate me from my sister and stuff like that. Me and my sister, we just held on to one another. And, that's how that night went.
And this was on the campus?
Yeah.
Wow. Mm. So what happened from there? Who'd you come up with?
So that was from 1 to 6. And that's when I moved around AZ base when my dad got murdered.
Gotcha.
And my mom's went to prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt, which is my mother's sister, she took a son. And, she had a husband, and dude, vicious, uh, had a vicious addiction
Mm.
to drugs, specifically crack cocaine,
Mm.
right? And just was very, advantage taker. You know what I mean? He was a grown man and he hated my dad. So he would, tell us stories about, reasons that my dad got murdered. Uh, say things like, I was gonna grow up and be murdered like him if he didn't make me tougher, you know? So, he used to poke me with knives, you know what I mean? Uh, make me bite my tongue till it bleed. He did a lot of little things, little physical, you know, torturous things to me under the pretense of making me tougher, right? And yeah.
Oh. So, how old were you at this time?
It was like 7.
Mm. And was it? I mean, out of the two situations, it sounds like this was much worse. What kind of person was it making you to be?
So not even realizing it then, what it was turning me into, right? But part of what came out of it was kind of like having like suicidal tendencies. And what that looked like is like when I was like 11, me and my friends, my one of my best friends named Chip, and one of our other friends, our other buddies, uh, we was riding across Bennett Road, and we was playing a game named Chicken Wing, called Chicken Wing, right? And what that means is like you gotta make it across the street before the cars, the onslaught of the cars, hit you, but you trying to make it to the sidewalk. And that's like a suicidal game, right? And it kind of gave me, you know, that type of mindset where I didn't have any fear. And I would be like a big risk taker, right? And the results of that, one day when we was playing this game, I actually got hit by a car, right? And fell on my head, broke my right leg, uh, and was like, didn't wake up immediately. You know what I mean? I think it was like maybe like a week or so, like maybe a week or whatever before I actually woke up from being hit by that car.
Were you in a coma?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that was a real bad situation, right? And my mom, she was in prison, and that hurt. You know what I mean? That hurt her, right? To be away from her son and not knowing if he gonna wake up, right? So you know, and then I didn't have uh sense of sense of like regret about playing that game. Like even when I did wake up, right? It was like I wasn't caring, or maybe I was even desensitized about my life. I didn't really care what happened, right? Uh, so yeah.
You said your mom. What happened to her?
So my mom's, she went on. She got sentenced to think it's 13 years to life, right? She got sentenced to 13 years of life, and at that time, you know, when I'm still home and I'm young, she don't really know everything that I'm going through as a child growing up in this environment, right? So a lot of the things that I'm doing, you know, it's like I'm aiming it at hurting her, right? That's how she's seeing it. Or, or I'm just like a undisciplined, unruly type of child because of whatever reason, right? But I don't think that she was really able like to delve in to the perspective of my maturation process and not having a mom and not having a dad and being, you know, involved and growing up in this spot where the conditions is harsh and hard, right?
Did she know that was going on in the crib?
Nah, she ain't know.
Yeah, So what was like your reputation on the street by that point?
Uh, so at some point when I got into the streets, like my brothers, they had already been there. They had already been there a little longer than me, right?
How many
And
brothers you have?
so when I say my brothers, like not my biological
I see.
brothers, but my partners, my men, um, it wasn't none but like 6 of us,
Mm.
right? And really 5. Yeah, right? And then we had like a big brother. But it was really 5 of us, so 6 in total. And I've was in the street sometimes, but I was never like selling drugs or stuff like that, right? And in DC at that time, like you come out the house different. Like I came out the house different. I ain't come out the house like selling drugs. Nah, I ain't come out like that. I came out the house first, like getting a pistol in my hand, right? Because back then in DC, it was like you had to first establish your respect. You couldn't just come on no block. Even if you was from this block, you just couldn't come on the block and start selling drugs because it's just like having a store. When you got a store, you gotta be willing to protect it, right? So I came out of the house like, with a lot of anger, right? But first I didn't even want to come out the house at first. You know what I'm saying? At first it was like, I wanted to be a good kid. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be educated. I wanted my family. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't choose to be in the street. Like this was forced on me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, after going through the torture that I was going through in this household, that's what made me run away, right? So the first time when I ran away, streets it was mean, right? And it was too mean for me, right? But I just didn't want to be in there. So I wound up going back in the house. And then when I went back in the house, I went through the same thing with my uncle saying that, I was weak because I couldn't survive out there, right? So, all of that played on my mind. And it was like, nah, you know what? I'm getting out of here. And then, the torture in there only exacerbated. So I'm like, if I can go through this in here with him, right? Then I can take whatever in the street, right? So I went back in the street and I got stabbed in my face. So when I got stabbed in my face, because I still really ain't pick up the gun yet, right? So once I got stabbed in my face, that's what, me seeing my own blood, on the ground and, kind of realizing like, damn, like I might be a casualty, right? If I don't pick up the gun. So then I picked up the gun.
I was just getting ready to ask you, like, what prevented you from picking it up sooner? I know what you're saying, and I feel you. But man, especially if he's gonna turn up and you going back, like, what was you holding on to?
Man, all I can say is like, I was just more so hopeful, right? I could still remember like my mom, I could still remember my dad, and then my sister. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't want to leave my sister for real. You know what I mean? Cause like she 2 years older than me, and like that's always been my heart. So it was like, I want to do the right things. I want to be able to be around for her. I don't want to die out here, and I don't want to go to jail. But at the same time, now I'm homeless and I can't even see her. I don't even see her now, right? And I picked it up. Then once I picked it up, it's like once you get it in your hand, you young, you going through a lot, you know what I mean? You really don't understand the world, you know what I mean? You really don't understand life, and then, what I'm saying, you've been indoctrinated to go through, whatever you went through. You learn it from the news, you learn it from your block, you learn it from your teachers. The teachers telling you you're going to jail. You know what I'm saying? Your uncle, the parent, he telling you you're gonna die before you 15, right? You know what I'm saying? Your partners around you, everybody, nobody got a father, right? They not there. Either they locked up, don't care, or what I'm saying, or just dismissive, right? So at some point it's just like you gotta be the man that you see, right? The one that you respect, the alpha male that's on the block, that got the gun, that, got the money, that's courting all of these women, right? And then you like, okay, so now that I got this fire, you know what I mean? I'm, it's freedom or death, you know? Freedom from what? Freedom from being a victim, you know? So, yeah.
When did your life change again?
When did it change again?
Yeah.
So, once I kind of like picked up that dog, it's like I was locked into that. So at 16, when I had got a life sentence, uh, I can't really say it changed, because that wasn't a changing point. That was me recognizing, okay, now the actions that I done in the world, in the street, now I gotta answer to that. These are the consequences of my actions.
Okay, so take us back a step. How'd you get locked up?
Okay. So, and I guess that mean when you was asking, when
Yeah.
did my life change?
Yeah, bro.
So I think you probably saying like when I killed someone.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay. So, so, some things I could talk about, some things I can't, because cases, sometimes, there's no statute of limitation, right? And you know, and salute to all of those people, man, those negative people that, made me conscious of it. And man, salute to the people that had to suffer from, that type of ignorance, right? Uh, However, uh, in this specific situation, man, it was a guy in my neighborhood that he shot my friend, and he killed one of my other friends, one of my other brothers. And
One of the six that you were talking about?
yeah, my partner Chip. Salute to Chip, right? He died when he was 17 on Valentine's Day. So when the dude murdered my friend and then shot my other friend, my brother, shot my brother, then shot my other brother, and then shot my other brother, and then eventually, like, he tried to kill my brother's mother, right? And it was like, he was the big homie for real. Like, but it wasn't that he was the big homie that we was giving him a pass. It was because, like, first he tried to rob my brother. So when he robbed my brother and him, they had a shootout, right? And after that, he shot my brother, what I mean? Killed one of my partners. He just was like, you know, he was a bully, right? And then, word kept surfacing, you know, around the neighborhood that he was looking for my brother. So eventually we went and found him, you know? And when we went and found him, you know, it wasn't going to be like a specific thing like, you know, we intended, but we definitely intended to end it, whatever it may be, whether it can be a conversation or whether it can be, you know, whatever it's going to be, right? And when we went to talk to him, a conversation started first because it wasn't like he was just some guy that we didn't know. You know what I'm saying? He was somebody that we known since we was young, right? And you know, ultimately, you know, you know, words was exchanged, and he looked as if he was like about to pull, and you know, we pulled first, and then you know, he died. May you rest in peace.
So you and Kareem,
Yeah, my
y'all
brother.
both get hit. Murder. How old were you then?
I was 16.
Man, him too?
Nah, Kareem was 17.
17.
Yeah.
How long was did y'all get?
So I had more than one case. I had two murders and I had two assaults. And I got found guilty on one assault. I took a plea to another assault and I got found guilty on the murder. But with Kareem. So I believe Kareem had got uh 2 life sentences plus 35 years. And I had got 2 life sentences plus 75 years because of the other cases that I had. Because the first case that I had got locked up for was an assault. So when I got locked up for that assault, uh, you know, it was my first charge. So, you know, I did like 7 months and then did another month in boot camp. And when I did the month in boot camp was supposed to help me. You know what I'm saying? It was supposed to, you know, change my life, right? But when I went to boot camp, you know, it only exacerbated. Like, you know, people in there, you know, tackling me, you know, talking about I think I'm tough, and I'm thinking in my mind, where is this coming from? I don't even know, you know. But I guess it was the scar on my face and all of that, right? So yeah, we got sentenced to that, man, and yeah.
You know, right now it's like this. I know you.
Yeah.
I love you. And my head is reeling right now. You know, I'm trying not to do a lot of talking because I know how important this is, but I gotta ask something that's tough. And I gotta ask it the right way out of respect for you. Aside from the amount of time, because that's where we met each other. Aside from the amount of time, was it fair for you to get charged? Meaning, the type of person that you were then, would it have gotten worse if you would have been out on the street longer?
So I understand your question. So I'm gonna say this, right? And this the deep thing about our country, right? The thing is this. When I first called my first charge, which was an assault with a dangerous weapon, right? The charge that I was just telling you about. When they locked me up for that charge, they did a pre-sentence report on me. A pre-sentence report is when a psychologist speaks to you, learn who you are, and then takes that information over to the judge to advise the judge what's the best way in sentencing you or helping you reintegrate back into society. The psychologist's pre-sentence report read, Momolu is a young man that suffers from trauma. He suffers from the death of his father and his mother's involvement. He's a young youth. He doesn't put much thought to his decisions. He needs therapy. He needs therapy. He needs help. And quote, this subject needs help, right? So the judge never put these things in place for me. Therapy is not boot camp. Boot camp is when they slamming you, telling you you want to be a tough guy. They're not reaching into your soul, asking, what's wrong with you? How can we help you?
So wait a minute. So in a different way, they're trying to do exactly what your uncle was doing?
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. It was basically going right back into that household again, right? Because nobody asked those questions, right? And then if they would have did a thorough research, like I did for my book, right? My journey home, then they would have read that in the 3rd grade, the counselors was saying the same thing about me then. He needs therapy, right? But I never got it. So to answer your question, do I think that I deserve to be in prison?
No, not
No.
deserve.
I think what I think is that there should have been a way that they could have held me accountable without, like, because if they would have did the right things in the right way from the beginning, then no, I would have never been in prison.
Now that's fair.
Look at me now.
Yeah. So around this time, remember when we met, how long after you were sentenced were you? How long into your bid were you when we met?
Probably like a year.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And how much did they hit you with again?
They gave me 2 life sentences plus 75 years.
I couldn't believe it when I met you and that's what they said. I couldn't believe that. I felt like it was the most unfair thing I've ever heard. Even now, I have feelings about that. But take me from that moment, from that part of your life when the cameras were off. What happened then?
Man. So I gotta take you to both parts, you know what I'm saying? Because like, you know, here it is. I'm about to, get a whole lot of time, not even understanding what it looked like. You know what I'm saying? They taking my life from me and I don't even know what life is, you know? So having to digest that and then have, you guys come in, y'all doing a documentary, Thug Life in DC. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say something, but I can't speak about my case, right? But I can rap, right? So, that was epic, man. And what that looked at like, you know what I'm saying, when the cameras was off, it looked at like that every day. You know what I'm saying? It, that we wasn't putting on no show, you know what I'm saying? Like that we wasn't in what I don't even know what they called it. We wasn't in action. We, you know what I mean? It wasn't an act, you know what I mean? Like all the young men that was there, everybody going through the same thing. Everybody trying to get home. Everybody done went through some type of trauma, some type of, not having their mother, their father there, right? Because like my story is just an extension of theirs. You know what I'm saying? Like even the people that's still in there, right? I give a voice to the voiceless, right? I'm able to give hope to the hopeless. You know what I'm saying? By them seeing me, You know what I'm saying? At a young age, Thug Life in DC, Slam. You know what I mean? To be a part of, the Thug Life in DC, won the Emmy in that year. Slam, winning the Sundance Film Festival in 98, right? And then getting on the soundtrack, right? With people like Mobb Deep, Flip Mode Squad, Busta Rhymes, Black Rob, you know what I'm saying? Noriega and Capone. You know what I mean? People that I'm looking up to, right? I'm looking up to these people since I was a youngin'.
One of
right?
the best soundtracks.
Yeah.
For
And then I'm
movie
getting
drop.
a life sentence and my life going this way. And then I watch Saul. I watch you. I watch all y'all take off, right? And I'm still in there.
Wow.
Now I'm, what I mean? So it's, people's like, some people was even saying like, man, you're going to be like Snoop. Somebody going to hear you, man. Man, Suge going to come get you. I'm like, man, ain't nobody coming to get me out this job. Man, Snoop only had one case, you hear me? I ain't label me. They labeling me like real heavy around here. So I'm like, nah, they ain't about to come get me yet. But I knew the shit was coming. I ain't know how, I ain't know when. You know what I'm saying? And even if it wasn't coming, I'ma still maintain my morals and my values and my honor, right? I'ma still make sure that I'm working out. I'ma still make sure I tell my mother, if even when things ain't going good, I'ma tell Mom, yeah, everything all right. I ain't never gonna tell my mother while I'm in no cage or nowhere else, Ma, I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I never done that, right? I never done that with my sister. You know what I mean? Even though with your family, they can hear it in your voice. They know when you're going through something. So you can call home and, everything everything good, da-da-da. But after the call, Mom gonna probably call sis, or sis gonna call Mom, something wrong with them. You know what I mean? Because they know your spirit, right? Yeah, every day ain't, it ain't no great day. It's never been a great day in prison. My worst day in the streets been better than my best day in prison, right? However, right? Like everything was a lesson. So anything I went through in there and before I came home, and even right now, I understand there's no mistakes in life. It's only lessons. And the only lesson that you know is the one that you live. And the only lesson that you learn is the one that you study. You know what I'm saying? So I made my life a study. You know what I mean? I started studying in there. Even the way I did my push-ups. When I ran, I'm studying my heartbeat. I'm paying attention to stuff people ain't paying attention to. And that's what that was like, learning from the sages, reading books. George Jackson, what did he stand for? You know what I mean? What did he stand for? Reading things about my father. When he wrote his thesis of phenomenology of liberation, that's what that looked like. I was able to learn from the high priestess. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because everything in there, it ain't, it's hard time, but sometimes you got to go through some hard situations in order to become hard. Pain teach you what the truth can't. So, that's it.
Take a moment and tell me what was the worst thing you saw in there.
The worst thing I saw in prison, the worst thing I ever saw in prison.
The worst.
The worst.
Worst.
The worst thing I ever saw in prison was a rat. You know why?
Why?
Because for me, I understood that we all are in the same situation, right? And another word for a rat is basically a traitor, right? Someone that folds or bends in order to gain their freedom or to put somebody in this bad situation. And I quote Martin Luther King when he say, a man that has nothing that he's willing to die for is not fit to live, right? So a lot of times, especially in those situations, right, where people have quote unquote married themselves to this reality or to this perspective of life, which we call the underworld, right? And then you give up your morals and your principles because of the consequences of your own actions, right? That was the worst thing I ever saw. That's the worst thing that I can ever see, right? Because there's no other uh, sight that is worse than a broken man, especially a broken black man. Because when you know who you are, you shouldn't allow those things, anything to break you, because we got God within us. And if you align yourself properly and you more so think about how you're going to change yourself than to change your conditions, then you can become a God on earth. But you have to align yourself. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. Now, to use it on another way, something that I've seen like physically, one of the worst things, because I done seen so many worse things. I done seen young dude tie a rope around the thing and commit suicide. That was a very, very bad thing that I saw in my mind. You know, I saw him, I seen it. That was one. I seen people be stabbed. I seen all of that. But I, I guess at that time and to a degree, I seen so much of that in my life before I was even 16.
Before you even came in.
Yeah, before I even came to prison. You know what I'm saying? Like the worst thing I've ever saw in my life was my dad. You know what I'm saying? So it don't get no worse than that, right? Him laying right there, blood everywhere, right? So, yeah.
Take a moment and tell me the best thing that you experienced.
The best thing I've ever experienced. The best thing I've ever experienced in my life is my connection to God. That's the best thing I've ever experienced. And it's so phenomenal that it led me to a study about my ancestors. Uh, Led me to a practice of Ifa, basically wisdom of nature and God, the collective wisdom of my ancestors, and to understand that the Creator lived within us. And I can't even use the word experience because this word, that word wouldn't even describe it. The word that I use is a word that was coined by Ra'an Nefer in the Mitu Netta called insperience. And that's something that happens within you. Maybe when you pray or when you meditate, but you're at peace, right? And then you start to understand that the Creator is more concerned with making you a better person, with using you for His purpose, for its purpose, right? You start to understand energy. That's the greatest thing that I've experienced spiritually. The greatest thing that I've ever experienced in my life outside of that is making it home, right? Making it home, hugging my family, seeing my niece, my nephews, still saying Kareem, Halim, we moving all around the world from prison to Paris. You know what I mean? We in London, you know, to meet beautiful women, you know what I mean? To learn women, to be able to converse with women. You know what I'm saying? Because in prison, you can't talk to no women. You know what I'm saying? You look at them too hard. You know what I mean? The officers might say something about you eyeballing them. You know what I mean? Something like that. So, just the whole experience about life, and more than anything, is having the proper perspective about who I am. You know what I'm saying? Who I am and knowing who I am. Because that's true freedom when you know who you are. When you know who you are and you following and you standing on my yacht. You know what I mean? When you standing on them 7 African principles, truth, justice, balance, harmony, reciprocity, righteousness, and order. You know what I mean? And when you living by that, even when things don't go right, you know, your money might fall off, but you still connected to God. So you ain't gonna go outside and blow out somebody's brains like you would have did when you was 16, 15 for his coat. You know what I mean? Or for a pound or some stupid stuff. You know what I mean? You're not gonna move like that. You're gonna really trust and believe that God got you, right? It's the greatest experience.
Tell me the lowest moment that you had that if you did not come back from this, you wouldn't be here. Now this is the moment.
You said the lowest moment?
Lowest moment, the hardest experience that you had there, that this either made you or broke you and you knew it.
All right. So the lowest moment. I had a whole lot of low moments. I was homeless, man. You don't get no lower than that. But that was when I was like 14. So that was a real low moment.
No, I mean
But
on the inside.
on the inside, all right, cool. All right. Make sure y'all get this book too, because it's gonna go a little bit more in depth
What's the name?
than what y'all can do. It's my journey home, you know? So I'm gonna say the lowest moment for me was, you know, I was in prison and I started to like adapt to that life, right? And what that looked at like was wake up in the morning, work out. After I work out, then I would find out who has the drugs, right? And I had to be like maybe like 26, 27, right? And at this time I was blowing dope.
You're 10 years in.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And using heroin, right? Blowing it, not shooting it though. So, you know, it became a cool thing in the prison, you know, amongst some of the young guys that, you know, was quote unquote thorough, right? And, you know, it was like style almost, you know, to be doing it, even though it made you feel good too. Kind of made you numb and, you know, you nodding and you moving around the compound like you're not in jail. But the whole time, man, you in jail, man. You in prison, you know, and ain't nothing fun here, right? And sometimes we can confuse ourselves, you know, because like sometimes in abnormal environments, abnormal behavior becomes normal, you know, and that comes out of a man's search for meaning, right? But I was moving around like that for a while. And it was a situation that had happened with a guy from New York. And to abridge a long story, I passed him a knife. And I never supposed to got involved in it. But I did because the guy from New York was my friend, right? So when I passed him the knife, it was some guys that was going to jump him. And when they seen him put up the knife, they was like, nah, you got it. And, you know, a big thing had happened and they had locked some people down. So I was distraught about it because for real, I should have minded my business. Because even like some guys on this side was kind of cool with me too. And it was just like, I was like in a bad situation because I'm like, damn, I just never supposed to got involved because I'm from DC. So I went and told a guy from DC that was quote unquote one of my buddies. And he went behind my back and started telling the homies that I passed the knife and wanted something done to me. So I remember that day when I was in the cell, and I was in the cell, man, and when right after I had heard about that, and I was thinking, man, I might have to stab this guy, I might have to do this, I might have to do that. And at that time, when this is going on, uh, it was just like, it was like the hardest time of my life, right? I gotta rewind. When I first went to prison at 16, then I had got a lawyer. When I was 19, I paid a lawyer. My dad left me $75,000. I paid for a lawyer. It was supposed to have been for school, but I used my money on lawyers. So as soon as I met this lawyer, she told me, you know, you're never gonna go home till you come at peace with God. So I asked her, what you mean come at peace with God? She said, call on your father. I told her my father dead. She said, no, he's not. He's just in a different realm. Fast forward, back to the story. So when I was walking up and down in the cell, you know, thinking I'm gonna have to do this, thinking I'm gonna have to do that, and I was like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to go through this no more. And I just closed my eyes and I started calling on my dad. And I was like, Dad, you said you would always be here with me. You said you would always help me. I need you, please. And at that moment, something exploded within my stomach. And it changed my whole life. Because like, it was like at that breaking point. But then that led me to the study of my ancestors, in which they always called on their ancestors. And they never believed in death. And I think that that's one of the most things that we suffer from today, is because once we lose somebody, we think that they gone forever. When in all reality, we all just energy. I know I went a little far from that question, but
is it possible that if somebody is targeted as a victim, sexual violence in prison, is it possible to stop it? He's targeted to get raped. Can it be stopped?
yeah, it could be stopped.
What kind of reputation has a person have to have? What level must they be on to be able to stop a green light like that?
So first and foremost, like in prison, it don't really happen like that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, despite what people been told and like the propaganda about prison, like you don't have like like flaming homosexuals that are like that predatory where they have to go and rape someone, right? Because people are openly gay.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if a person is gay, then the other gay guy, or you know, they will meet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not like how in the movies, and you know what I'm saying, how it's put out there through media, right? About people being predatory. Now, before I came to prison, I've heard that it was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, back in the 70s and the 80s. And, you know what I'm saying, I heard how people was real predatory like that. More so nowadays, people more so trying to take your food or your commissary. They trying to rob you. Like, or if you get money, you got drugs. Like, yeah, they trying to do something with that. But
yeah,
people not really like, you know what I'm saying? Because people are more burnt out on the drug. You know what I mean? Drugs have people mind nowadays. People are not driven by, you know what I'm saying?
sexuality.
Yeah, it's not in prison.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like, I mean, some places maybe it is.
Outside.
And I haven't seen that like that, right? I've seen people play sex games, right? You know, it might just be for fun. Hey, you know, get your pants. All this old, you know, that type of talk, right? But I think that in the end of the day, that people only do what you allow, right? So if you allow yourself to play with a person like that, you know what I mean? Like, whereas though he starts playing like that, and then you answer to that, and now you're playing like that, and then one thing may lead to another, and you know what I'm saying, you went from playing to touching, right? So now once you lead the touching, you know, now you can get a room on you, anything, right? So I believe that, you know, men should ultimately just stay in men's place, right? And if they able to stay in a man's place, right, you won't have to worry about being played with or having any type of rumor on your name, or, you know what I'm saying, or anything like that. Yeah.
There was a law that changed, or something, an opportunity that opened up in prison where you knew that this was the opportunity that you could come home. Describe that.
Oh, so so yeah, so look, right. So Kareem is a lawyer, you know, like bona fide, right? So the whole time while we incarcerated, he always, you know, I know he in the law library. That's what he doing. He studying, he getting it together, right? I do the law library too, but not like him. You know what I'm saying? Like he on another level in the law library, right? So I'm working on my journey home.
Yeah, no doubt.
so you know, cause I know bruh got it, right?
Yeah.
So you know, at the same time, so we always communicate, we always writing. So, you know, it's like before the law even came out, bruh always he always got something. He is something, you know, it's some type of motion we about to file, you know what I'm saying? And I know for a fact any one of them, they could say yes, you know what I mean? Like, you know, they can give us a million no's, but if they say yes just once, we out of here, right? So I always had faith, you know what I mean? Not in the system, you know what I'm saying? But I had faith and I had faith in God, and I had faith in the God within us, right? That we gonna basically be able to see things through. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I knew we weren't gonna die in there, right? And I can't wait till some of my other brothers come home that could be able to, like, you know what I'm saying, add credence to my story right here. Cause I always told them, even when I was in Victorville at 25, they was like, Pug, man, you know niggas dying in here. I don't care what niggas doing in here. I'm going home one day. You hear me? Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to my partner, man. You know what I'm saying? He about to come home now. But so 2016, new law came out called IVER. And what that is the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act, right? So basically what the law entails is that if you was under the age of 18 when you committed your crime, right, and got, you know, a very lengthy sentence, you can petition the court for early release, right? Basically, you had to have 20 years in, right? So the thing is, you had to like show the court that you have been rehabilitated. And, you know, that's a strange thing within itself because rehabilitated, we wasn't never habilitated. You know what I mean? So we had to show them that we was habilitated. You know what I mean? But in their language, rehabilitated,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
That's their language. We had to be rehabilitative, right? So the thing was, you know, I was already in there programming, you know what I'm saying? I was part of an African community, you know what I'm saying? Like we understand, you know, the African proverb, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, you know what I'm saying? And it's a rites to passage in this,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Because many men ain't men.
Yeah.
They don't think like men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like even now, you can catch a dude 50 years old, you know what I mean, living his life like a child, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So I was already in there like, uh being a teacher, right? Being a teacher, man, and you know what I'm saying, creating programs and working out, going to college, right? Studying, working on my book, right? Poet, make my music,
No doubt.
you know what I'm saying? My art, everything, you know what I'm saying? So like it wasn't hard for me to put a case before them. Now this the crux of it though. So Kareem, he go up first. He was the first one that went on the ivory. He filed his own motion, right? Yeah, he filed his own motion, man. So when he filed the motion, he sent it to me. I read it. I'm like, all right, all right, big boy. You know what I mean? And
it looked official.
Yeah, it was way official. But I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna probably tell you that story in time. So, so in any regard, man, they about to call me up to jail. So at the time, I don't feel comfortable with telling anybody that I murdered someone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm embarrassed about it. I don't, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just not how I've been raised, right? I've never been able to, talk about none of that stuff, right? And he's the same way. He's never been able to talk about it either. But for this specific law, he like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? This is the way I'm coming at him. I'm letting him know I did it, right? So I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to let him know. So he like, all right, cool. I'm gonna tell him what I did, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. And then, so I had a guy that was, supposed to help me in my case, and he kind of dropped the ball. So once he dropped the ball, it was like, all right, I did it. My hands is up. You know what I'm saying? And it was a saying like Bruss said, man, he burned the bridge. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't no way back. You know what I mean? So I pretty much I burnt the bridge. You know what I mean? And I noticed that was probably the best decision that I could make. You know what I mean? Because the Creator got me covered. You know what I mean? He has me covered because he gonna use my story and people like me to save other young men. You know what I mean? That's committing the same crime. You know what I mean? That's hopeless out there on the block, ain't got nothing to live for. You can see me today and you can be like, damn, he did that. I know I can do it. You know what I mean? Just like a spider repairs his web. We gotta repair our community. You know what I'm saying? Because like, America love the criminal, but they hate the crime. You know what I'm saying? And we the only ones that's really losing on both ends. You hit him, then they send you to prison. And then you expect a system that called you 3/5 of a man to give you some type of justice. They gonna give you no justice. They don't even look at you as a human being. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So when you sat down with Kim Kardashian, because
that's what
you reached out to her. You reached out to her. She, by the grace of God, picked you as among 40 people to help. And how was it like what was that feeling like that somebody actually recognized and took notice of your case?
Yeah, so God work in mysterious ways, right? So what I was about to say too, Kareem made it home first. Then after Kareem made it home, then Harleen, right? So I was the last one. But my motion had been filed, I think, before Harleen's. So I should have probably came up a lot earlier. However, my uncle, the one that was torturing me when I was a child, he reached out to the prosecutor and was like, man, you can't let him come home. Yeah, he reached out to my lawyers. He let my lawyers know you can't let him come home. He gonna do something to me. So, I don't know for what reason, but things was taking a long time because I guess they real conniving. So they trying to find a way how they can, you know what I mean, use what he's saying to maybe keep me in there. And then you got the psychologist that was on my case. She believed that I should do an extra 3 years because I didn't admit to the crime initially, right? So man, it was looking a little rocky, right? Even though my lawyers, you know, they was ready, right? But it was looking a little rocky. And then my professor, Mark Howard, from Georgetown, he told me, you know what I'm saying, that he had spoke to Kim about me. So when I heard that, you know, I was ecstatic, right? So I wrote a letter to her, and she endorsed me, right? So I'm big on, like, you know, I'm big on loyalty, right? And it's always been a situation for me, like, you show your loyalty to me when I'm down. I show my loyalty to you when I'm up, right? So what Kim did is beyond words, right? For whatever reason, she did it, right? It's beyond words. You know, I'm totally, like, indebted. You know what I mean? I love her to death. You know what I'm saying? I don't even have to hear from her another day in my life. You know what I mean? Like, she took a step to give me my life back, right? And, you know, in any situation, you know what I'm saying, which I know a situation would never come about like this, but I would be willing to give my life for her. You know what I mean? Because that's what true loyalty is. That's what true honor is. So yeah, shout out to Kim, you know.
No question about it. You know, one of the things I love about your story is that, you know, you had co-defendants and all of y'all came home. Listen, that don't always happen. That's very rare. That you have that amount of time and somebody doesn't cut a deal. Somebody doesn't rat. I mean, from the biggest on down. You don't see that every day. That's a thing of the past, bro. But y'all did it. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to sit down on Vlad TV with you, because in the hood, you don't hear that. And these are some of the examples that we need to see. With that said, how many years did you actually wind up doing?
So I did 23 years. Yeah, I did 23 years.
You came home. Tell us about that Sunday service.
Oh yeah. That was a whole vibe, right? That was a whole vibe, man. It was 4 days after my release, right? And the big thing about that is it was right back at the Howard University campus
It's incredible.
where my dad was murdered at,
Unbelievable.
right? And you know, shout out to Ye. Shout out to Ye, man. And shout out to Kim. Shout out to God. Cause God did, man. You know what I mean? And I was able to perform, you know. First Ye was like, nah, you know, then he was like, nah, follow your heart, right? So I was able to do my thing. And one of the songs that I used to sing on the juvenile block was the first song that they started singing, right? The choir started singing. Revelation, I believe, is 19:1, right? They started singing that. I looked at Harlene and he like, right? That same day, my aunt, that my mother's sister, she died that day at the Howard University Hospital. Can't make it up, man. It's all spiritual. But see, but we don't see death in a, you know, in a bad space. because like, you know, you gotta be spiritual. You know what I'm saying? And if you really love God, then why you fear? Why you fear going back to him? Right? If anything, fear how you living. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's correct. Let's go. Oh, and shout out to my comrades, man. Shout out to Kareem and Harleen, man. You know what I'm saying? Because not only did we do the time, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, that ain't never been in our circle. Like we ain't never been rats, right?
Right.
So that's you know, that's already granted. But it's the way that we did it. You know what I'm saying? And then to know each other from 6 years old and to be back out here winning, you know what I mean? Like to have families,
Yeah.
you know, and to be doing it the right way. You know what I mean? I commend them. I commend them good man. You know what I'm saying? Commend my brothers, man.
Yeah, so do I, because, you know, being from the streets that we're from, no matter what town,
No question.
Tough Street is a universal place, and there are themes that are on there that continue, unfortunately. And some of the biggest bosses have not had that type of loyalty. They have not stood for it. They only talked about it. They have not lived it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully this is one of the only experiences that we have to go through where the cycle finally will be broken and certain things will discontinue, like being forced into situations and not having a vehicle that is, you know, able to bring those of us who have suffered up out of it before it gets any worse. You know, you once said that you had never been anywhere with so many positive people. Has that changed?
Absolutely.
How so?
Absolutely. Now, man, it's like I recognize that it's, you know, it's just energy, right? So we don't get what we want in life. We get what we are. You know what I mean? And because my mind has changed, you know, my energy has changed. Like it's already levitating. We already levitated to the heavens, right? However, even though I spend time with those people that are positive and uh, you know, enhancing and moving forward and trying to go further with their life, I still find myself going back into those parts or speaking to those people, you know, that might not be so positive, that's going through stuff in their life, right? Because like that's what we really here for. We here for them. The strong are here for the weak. You know what I mean? We're not here to exploit them. We're here to help them. That's what strong people do. Strong people don't put their foot on someone's neck or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, because you don't have it. You know what I mean? I don't give it. You know, like my comrade was speaking to me the other day. To be really wealthy is not about your accumulation, but it's about how much you give, you know? And what is the greatest thing to give than your time and your wisdom, right? So now it don't even matter what space I'm in. You know, I'm gonna make sure that the energy is gonna adapt to what I got to say, you know what I mean, and to these blessings that I'm emitting. You know what I mean? Because I get favor from on high. And I know I can pass it on right here.
How has slam changed you? And what would you like to do from here?
Shout out to Saul. Shout out to the GOAT, Saul Williams, man. Shout out to Sandra. Shout out to Sonia, Mark, you know, the whole team, you Bones, you know what I mean? Everybody that was on the team, Rachel, you know, everybody. You know, I love all y'all. Can't remember everybody's name right now. But
My man Mark Benjamin, shout out.
yeah, Mark Benjamin, the whole staff.
And
yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth, Earl. Like, yeah. So anyway, so how has slam changed me? So you know, it's about that magical door. You know what I mean? That Saul was talking about when they were saying that, man, this weed carries 10 years, right? And he like, nah, I'm not taking no plea to no 10 years. Well, you can get this if you, no, I'm not taking no plea to nothing. I'm trying to find a magical door. And it almost seems as if in that time, because seeing how I even got wrote into the script of Slam, like I wasn't in the movie until Saul seen me, like, oh, he wrote me in, right? So it's like almost as if we was creating something right there, the magical door. And I'm going to find it, right? Because, like, people get helped every day, you know what I'm saying? Like, not saying making it small about Kim, helping everybody, but like, who gonna come to DC to help me? Like, who thought that Kim Kardashian would come to DC to help me? Like, people don't even hit the lottery. Like, I never met anyone that hit the Powerball in DC.
Dude, you hit it twice.
You're right.
A movie came to where you was at.
I hit it 3 times. 4. I hit it 4 times.
Run them down.
5, matter of fact. Slam, hold on. Thug Life in DC. Slam. The Slam soundtrack. The Justice Project. And then My Freedom. Oh, 6. And then the Sunday service. But this one right here, I'm about to hit. It's gonna be. It's already big. It's gonna be epic.
There's only one that you missed.
Which one?
Which is, after 23 years, you finally got to see the movie that you're in.
You're right, because I never even got to see the movie.
Never got to see it.
7.
As that thing traveled the world and rocked about 13, 14 awards in succession. And still going.
Facts.
Still going, because 25-year anniversary Sundance just had you there.
25-year anniversary. I'm telling you.
The anniversary of Slam, you're on there, you're on the dais. And it was so good to see you there. How did that feel?
Man. So I'm in Utah, you hear me? And the black man don't really like ice, but but it was cool, you hear me? Just being able to move around there with the team, the Slam team, man, and met a lot of good people. Was able to perform, show the video that I made up about my song that I made up about Kim Kardashian, Beauty and the Beast. You know what I mean? So that was epic, right? And just being able to honor her, honor my creator, for allowing me to meet somebody, as beautiful as she is, and to be a part of the movie, to see Saul again, to see Sonya, Mark and Daphne, and everybody, and it was just an epic opportunity, man. Like, it don't even seem real, you know what I mean? So like every day, it's like it's always something else that's popping up that I'm like, wow, okay, So yeah, it's a blessing, man.
Yeah, so it's been 23 years. When I met you, you hit us with 16 bars that is immortalized in the film and called Slam. Give me another 16.
All right. The penitentiary over, nigga, I'm finally done. Now they releasing the soldier, I ain't the only one. Some say my heart has got colder, so if I need a gun, them niggas snitched on the gangster, why not just hold your tongue? My legacy is impeccable, father's only son. My loyalty is unshakable, best is yet to come. My family ain't unbreakable, I'm the only one. They turned their back on me when they thought that the kid was done. And if it wasn't for business, I kill you all for fun. But I'm exercising forgiveness. forgiveness, I wanna make a son. And I'ma maintain commitment when pressure weigh a ton. Cause principles never change, no matter old or young. And it's the blood course my veins that make a nigga numb. No longer living in shame, I finally see the sun. My co-defendants, my partners, there is no separation. And we emerging from topics based on assassination. So stay the fuck out my business to niggas perpetrating. I hear you faking, I'm whacking you without hesitation. Staying true to the code, honor, I'm slinging that pole. My niggas never will fold. History written to show you sucker niggas exposed, but I still stay on my toes. About to spend 10 on my clothes, no longer play with my nose. Now not just honor my soul, know that I'm one of the chose. My favorite jury is gold, my baddest bitches is old. My younger bitches I mold, about to get rich I suppose. 23 years in the pen, where do a nigga begin? Out now and I'm setting the trend, but I gotta maneuver. Partner bought me a Benz, you never catch me in Uber. Every case I'm a shooter, now I'm fucking the cougars. But the ones that's doing Zuba and interested in moolah, count me out as a loser. Nigga, I'm only winning. Fashion is so exotic, my money must be unending. When I make it, I spend it. Contemplate on investments. Niggas ain't in my league, you ain't worthy of playing chess with. After this video, the bitches gonna be so desperate. And I probably lined you up if a nigga's schedule ain't hectic. And I like them pretty red with thick lips, I can't neglect it. But I don't fuck with them bitches, can't think and be moving reckless. The struggle is relentless, a lot of these niggas reckless. Indictments coming down and they trying to figure an exit. That's all I'm gonna give, man.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Look, check this out, man. This is my journey home, right? Support the book, man. Go read it, especially for those that struggle. If you struggling, you going through some shit, go get this book, man. Hey, look, in the bottom of this is my Instagram, but all letters, no dots. Momolu SK Stewart. Love y'all, man. It's changed the world.
Give us the last shout outs. Who you want to give love to, man?
Shout out to my mother and my sister. Both of my sisters. Yeah. Shout out to them. Shout out to you. I love you. You know what I mean? It's all for you. Soon, no worries. We up. We out of there. You hear me?
Thank you so much for everything you've done. We appreciate that very much. This is Bones Malone with Momolu SK Stewart.